Lumen point. Let's begin the breakdown.
It feels like all we ever hear is bad news about the climate, right? It's just this constant stream of doom and gloom. But what if I told you that if you actually dig into the data, a totally different story starts to show up? A really surprising one, actually. It's a story of incredible progress. Now, it's not a finished story, but the progress is real. Okay, so let's rewind the clock a bit. Go back to the early 2000s. Back then, the scientific consensus was, well, it was grim. Seriously grim. The path we were on was leading to a future that was so dangerous it was almost hard to wrap your head around. Think about it. Pretty much everything in our modern lives ran on fossil fuels. So the idea of preventing this catastrophe, it felt pretty much impossible. So here we are, 2 decades later. We've had all the warnings, we've seen incredible innovation, there have been global efforts. So the big question is, where do we actually stand now? Have we made a dent? Have we managed to turn this giant ship around? Well, let's dive in and see what the data tells us. All right, first up, we need to talk about something called the 4-degree fright. Because look, to really get a handle on the progress we've made, you first have to understand the scale of the disaster we were staring down the barrel of, the world we almost built. 4 degrees, 4 degrees Celsius. That was the number that defined all of our fears. That was the projection for how much the world would warm by 2100. And a 4-degree world, that's not just a little bit hotter. It's a number that would have completely, fundamentally remade our planet, and not in a good way. Yeah, see, a 4-degree world isn't just about cranking up the thermostat. We're talking about a planet where global food networks start to collapse, where devastating extreme weather isn't an event, it's just the new normal. Life on Earth as we know it would be in totally unprecedented, dangerous territory. And honestly, staring that future right in the face is what finally kicked the world into action. So, okay, you've got this massive planet-sized problem. How do you even begin to tackle it? Well, you go for the biggest piece of the pie first. And that was, by far, how we generated electricity and heat. I mean, that one sector was responsible for almost a third of the entire problem. And you know what? The progress we've made right here has been absolutely staggering. As of today, over 30%, more than a third, of all electricity on the planet now comes from renewables. That is a monumental shift. We're talking about moving away from the coal and gas that have run everything for more than 100 years. And this isn't just happening in a few places, okay? This is a truly global revolution. I mean, look at Uruguay. They're getting around 90% of their electricity from renewables. South Australia is on the verge of hitting 100% clean grid. And China? Get this. They're building twice as much new wind and solar as the entire rest of the world combined. The rollout has been so fast, so incredible, that it looks like emissions from the entire global electricity sector actually peaked back in 2022. Think about that. Okay, so this is where it gets really cool. This success we're having with clean electricity isn't just a win in one category. It creates this amazing chain reaction, this powerful knock-on effect. Suddenly, it unlocks the key to decarbonizing other huge parts of the economy, like how we get around and how we heat our homes. And what this shows is that there's a powerful economic engine driving all of this now. See, for years, we had policies pushing this stuff, right? But with massive manufacturing and just relentless innovation, the learning curve got steeper than anyone could have predicted. The more solar and wind we build, the cheaper electricity gets. And when electricity gets super cheap, suddenly running an electric car or using a heat pump is way cheaper than buying gas for your car or natural gas for your furnace. So the transition isn't just about doing the right thing anymore. It's being driven by straight-up, simple economics. I mean, just look at Norway. They've got tons of cheap, clean hydropower. And guess what? 9 out of every 10 new cars sold there last year were fully electric. 9 out of 10. It's the perfect real-world example. When clean electricity is also the cheapest electricity, the market just follows the money. It's that simple. Okay, but what about the really, really hard stuff? The tough nuts to crack, right? For years, the story was that heavy industries like steel and cement, well, they were just impossible to clean up. And these aren't small potatoes. We're talking about something like 14% of all global emissions just from those two. Well, guess what? That's changing, and it's changing fast. Take steel. It's not just about the massive heat it needs. Companies are now using something called green hydrogen, which is made with clean, renewable electricity, to replace coal in the chemical process. And for cement, which literally releases CO2 as part of a chemical reaction, well, they're now fitting carbon capture units right onto the smokestacks to just grab the emissions before they escape. The stuff we thought was impossible is, well, it's quickly becoming possible. And hey, there's another huge piece of this puzzle, a quiet victory that we don't talk about enough, our forests. Seriously, this is an unsung hero of the story. It doesn't get the same flashy headlines as a giant new solar farm, but it's absolutely critical. Since the year 2000, emissions from things like deforestation have actually dropped by 30%. And in the Amazon, deforestation has been cut in half in just the last 2 years. That's incredible. Okay, so let's put it all together. We've got progress in electricity, in transport, in heavy industry, in protecting our forests. So the big question is, what has all this done to that scary long-term forecast we started with? It's obvious. We've bent the curve away from that worst-case scenario. But the question is, by how much? After all this incredible work, what does our future actually look like now, according to the data? And here it is. This is the payoff. That catastrophic 4-degree world, it is no longer our most likely future. It's off the table. Just based on the policies that are already in place today, we're on a path for about 2.7 degrees of warming. But wait, it gets better. If countries just meet the targets they've already promised, we could be looking at 2.1 degrees. We have gone from 4 degrees down to potentially 2.1. That is a massive world-altering difference. All right, I know what you might be thinking. But what about politics? What happens if a new government comes in and just rips up all the climate agreements? Like the US leaving the Paris Agreement again. And look, that's a totally fair and valid concern. But it kind of overlooks this powerful new reality that's taken hold. And this right here shows you what I mean. This is why the whole transition is becoming so much more resilient to political winds. Just last year, the amount of money invested globally in clean energy and grids was double the investment in fossil fuels. Double. The economic momentum is it's enormous now. It's a runaway train. So here's the bottom line. The energy transition isn't just happening because it's the right thing to do anymore. It's happening because it makes economic sense. I mean, you've got oil-rich countries in the Middle East pouring billions and billions of dollars into huge solar projects. Why? Because they can see which way the wind is blowing. They know the future is powered by renewables. So look, we've made these incredible strides, right? But this is not the end of the story. Not by a long shot. This is a crucial turning point. We haven't won the fight yet. But what we have done is proven that winning is actually possible. This isn't some adventure we need to start. We're already on it. We've already made great strides. The adventure now is to continue it, to accelerate, to push even harder, and see this thing through to its final destination. Look, from here on out, every single 10th of a degree of warming we manage to avoid is a massive victory for humanity. The economic engine is running. The technology is here. This great adventure to secure our future is well and truly underway. So the only real question left is, you're already a part of this story. How are you going to help write the next chapter?
Fuel your curiosity. Subscribe for the explanation. Stay for the knowledge.